Good morning. I am about 12 minutes late, but I am here. And let's just get to the MCAT question of the day. Hit present. Okay, so if you are doing this question with me and you want to read on your own, then you can just go to jackweston.com daily MCAT practice passages. Just on their home screen, scroll down to their daily MCAT practice question. And then you can mute me, and then while I read the passage, and then once I get to the questions, you can unmute me and then do the questions together. But you can always listen to me. But reading the passage yourself, not out loud, is I think it helps with comprehension more. It's also faster. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. You can also watch passage analysis that experienced professionals or the people at Jack Weston have done as well afterwards. Okay, so let's begin. So this passage is called Photography and Knowledge. It's got 6 questions. Like other steadily aggrandizing enterprises, photography has inspired its leading practitioners with a need to explain again and again what they are doing and why it is valuable. The era in which photography was widely attacked as as parasital with respect to painting, predatory with respect to people, was a brief one. Painting, of course, did not expire in 1839, as one fresh painter hastily predicted. Yet something about photography still keeps the first-rate professionals defensive. Virtually every important photographer right up to the present has written manifestos and credos expounding photography's moral and aesthetic mission. The disconcerting ease with which photographs can be taken, and the inevitable, even when inadvertent, authority of the camera's results suggest a very tenuous relation to knowing. No one would dispute that photography gave a tremendous boost to relationship between knowledge and sight, because through close-up and long-distance lenses, it so greatly enlarged the realm of what could be seen. These new ways of seeing things makes us know them better, and so we can photograph them better as well. But about the extent to which, in order to get a good photograph, people need to know anything about what they are photographing, there is no agreement historically. Picture taking has been interpreted in 2 entirely different ways. Either you know a thing very well before you photograph it, or you don't know it at all. On the one hand, Nader, speaking of his respectful, expressive pictures of Baudelaire, Dore, Michelet, Hugo, Berlois, Nerval, Gautier, Sand, Delacroix, and other famous friends, said, "The portrait I do best is of the person I know best." On the other hand, Richard Avedon has observed that most of his good portraits are of people he met for the first time when photographing them. In this century, the older generation of photographers described photography as a heroic effort of attention, as an aesthetic discipline, a mystic receptivity to the world, which requires that the photographer pass through a cloud of unknowing. These older photographers insist that knowledge about a thing before taking a picture of it ruins the picture. According to Miner White, the state of mind of the photographer while creating is a blank. When looking for pictures, the photographer projects himself into everything he sees, identifying himself with everything in order to know it and feel it better. Cartier Bresson has likened himself to a Zen archer who must become a target so as to be able to hit it. Thinking should be done beforehand and afterwards. He says never while actually taking a photograph. Thought is required as clouding. That thought is required as clouding the transparency of the photographer's consciousness and as infringing on the autonomy of what is being photographed. Photography is advanced as a form of knowing without knowing, a way of outwitting the world instead of making a frontal attack on it. But modern photographers disagree. Even when ambitious professionals disparage thinking, suspicion of the intellect between a recurrent theme is in photographic apologetics. They usually want to assert how rigorous this permissive visualizing needs to be. A photograph is not an accident, it is a concept. Ansel Adams insists the machine gun approach to photography, by which many negatives are made with the hope that one will be good, is fatal to serious result. To take a good photograph runs the common claim one must already see it. That is, the image must exist in the photographer's mind at or before the moment when the negative is exposed. One must know a thing well, that is, before you can capture it in a picture. Okay. Original article was written by Susan Sontag and it's called Photographic Evangels. All right, so questions now. Just want to check if my mic is working. Yeah, okay. So the author's primary purpose is to review opinions on how photos should be taken, discuss why the photography field is currently in turmoil, explain the photography's role in knowledge production, demonstrated by photography is a worthwhile pursuit. I think it's reviewing opinions on how photos should be taken. This is too extreme. I don't think it says it's in turmoil. It's just different perspectives on photography, how photography is done. Explain photography's role in knowledge production. Well, I think this might be too extreme too. These older photographers insist that knowledge about a thing before taking a picture of it ruins the picture. Let's talk about knowledge of a thing. Explain photography's role in knowledge production. So this is actually intake of knowledge, not really production. No one would dispute that photography gave a tremendous boost to the relationship between knowledge and sight. Yeah, but I don't think it's the main reason. Review opinions on how photos should be taken. I think that's probably closest, I would say. And that is the correct answer. The passage discusses opinions on how photos should be taken, whether or not one has to know about one subject before taking the picture. Okay. And C was incorrect because this is discussed early in the passage, but the passage switches its emphasis to understanding what role of knowledge should play when taking a photo, which is a different topic. Okay. So the passage content category is art. they always sort of synthesize that from passage about a passage, and then the passage main idea, which helps you if you kind of can gather earlier on, like as you're reading, what the main idea of the passage will be. You can do better on the questions. So the best main idea is you must know a thing well before you photograph it. Which is interesting because the two perspectives are presented, right? However, it ends with to take a good photograph runs the common claim one must already see it. And then in the end, they say one must know a thing well that is before you can capture it in a picture. So that is a perspective, that is the point of view or opinion, possibly, of the author. Okay, so next question. Which of the following approaches to photography did older photographers support? Theoretical, spontaneous, pre-planned, comprehensive. They did a spontaneous? Well, no. Older photographers actually, one second. It says here, well, this is one photographer. Historically, picture taking has been interpreted two entirely different ways. Either you know a thing very well or not at all. On the one hand, Natter. Okay, on the other hand, Richard. So, in this century, the older generation described photography as a heroic effort of attention and aesthetic discipline, a mystic receptivity to the world, which requires the photographer pass through a cloud of unknowing. So it's not. I don't know what theoretical would be, because it's their theory. Approaches theoretical. Well, theoretical probably involve thinking too, right? You have to suspend thinking for this. So I would say spontaneous. And this is correct. So this is correct because the passage author argues that older photographers supported the idea that one should not know about the subject. One should not know about the subject one is capturing when taking a photograph of it. A photograph that is spontaneously taken closely resembles this. Okay. And what's up with theoretical? The passage discussion may sound quite theoretical. Yeah, I thought that. But the passage does not state that older photographers supported a theoretical approach to photography. Great. The passage describes an irony of photography, namely that when camera technology made taking photos a slow process, photographers wanted photos taken quickly. Photographs suggest they capture reality when what they capture is often doctored by photographers. Photographers are treated as authorities on photography when they do not consider themselves important in the process. Photography brought seeing and knowing together and questioned its own linked to both in the process. Okay. Let's see. The irony, I would say, is in here, right? If you know a thing before you photograph, a photograph is not what's depicting the reality. Okay, one second. So over here, well, it's interesting. Irony must be in like one of these, like perspectives, like not both. So even when ambitious professionals disparage thinking, suspicion of the intellect being a recurrent theme in photographic apologetics, they usually want to assert how rigorous this permissive visualizing needs to be. A photograph is not an accident, it is a concept. So, with that, I would say this one most likely because photographs suggest they capture reality when what they capture is often doctored by photographs. I mean, they're using their intellect. Uh, this one I really don't understand. Photography brought seeing and knowing together. Seeing and knowing together, and questioned its own link to both in the process. Seeing and knowing, because knowledge, right? Okay, so seeing and knowing, and questioned its own link to both in the process. Whoops. Sorry, that's like prayer. Prayer time. I think it would bring that sort of makes sense. So right here it says no one would dispute that photography gave a tremendous boost. The disconcerting ease with which photographs can be taken, and the inevitable, even when inadvertent, authority of the cameras. It's not working, this highlight thing. Is it? I don't know if I wanted to try this highlight thing. All right, never mind. Okay. The disconcerting ease with which photographs can be taken, and the inevitable when inadvertent authority of the camera's results suggest a very tenuous relation to knowing. No one would dispute that photography gave a tremendous boost to the relationship between knowledge and sight, because through close-up and long-distance lenses, it so greatly enlarged the realm of what could be seen. These new ways of seeing things makes us know them better, and so we can photograph them better as well. But about the extent to which, in order to take a good photograph, people need to know anything about what they are photographing. There is no agreement. Okay. So there's like a disconcern that they're saying, no, you must not have knowledge. So knowledge and seeing. I don't know. Let's try this one. It is ironic. This, I think, would be doctored by photographers. I don't think their doctoring might be too extreme. Oh, it's correct. So D is correct. This is correct. The passage raises the relationship between seeing and knowing in the first few paragraphs, and the rest of the passage discusses how seeing and knowing work in photography. Okay, cool. The author implies which of the following about photography in the first paragraph. A photographer, let's kind of go back and see, or let's read the questions first. A photographer becomes great after writing a defense of photography. Most people now believe that photography is both moral and beautiful. The French were the first widespread users of photography. People believed painting would become unpopular if one could take photos. Hmm. Like other steadily aggrandizing enterprises, photography has inspired its leading practitioners with a need to explain again and again what they are doing and why it's valuable. The era in which photography was widely attacked as a parasital with respect to painting, predatory with respect to people, as was a brief one. Painting, of course, did not expire in 1839, as one French painter hastily predicted. Yet something about photography still keeps the first rate professionals defensive. Virtually every important photographer, right up to the present, has written manifestos and credos expounding photography's moral and aesthetic mission. So I don't know if, although the great photographers have written defense, so a photographer becomes great after writing a defense of photography. Might be too extreme. Most people now believe that photography is both moral and beautiful. Um, the author implies which of the following about about photography in the first paragraph. Let's see. People believe painting would become unpopular if one could take photos. Yes, according to this painting, but this French painter hastily predicted that, right? Okay, so this is plausible. The French were the first widespread users of photography. This is completely wrong. Um, most people now believe moral. Well, this is photographers really saying that the defense. This is the defense by the photographers. Um, uh, okay. I don't really. I'm not sure about this question actually. Oh, D is correct. Okay. So this is correct because the first paragraph caps off the claim that photography was not attacked for long with the claim that painting did not die, implying that one reason why photography was attacked was because people feared it would give people no reason to paint. Okay. Question 5. The passage indicates that its author would not agree with which of the following statements. Um, the passage indicates that its author would not agree with which of the following statements. Like other steadily aggrandizing. Oh, why am I reading again? The passage indicates that its author would not agree with which of the following statements. Okay, one can learn something about the world through photographs. To know something nowadays, one needs a photograph of it, needs to photograph it. Deep study is often required to make a photograph as good as it could be. Photographers used to prioritize capturing life's surprises. Author would not agree with. So I think author makes clear the perspective that right here, the image must exist in the photographer's mind at or before the moment when the negative is exposed. One must know a thing well, that is, before you can capture it in a picture. So, um, To know something nowadays, one needs to photograph it. Deep study is often required to make a photograph as good as it could be. They wouldn't. Okay, so deep study, this number C, they would agree with. No. Photographers used to prioritize capturing life's surprises. Okay, so that they wouldn't disagree. He wouldn't disagree with that. Would agree with that. To know something nowadays, one needs to photograph it. No, I think they would disagree with this one, right? Because they already know it. I would believe. Okay, so B is correct. The author would not agree with this point since it would go against the author's main idea. Both perspectives assume that one can know about a thing before you photograph it. Okay, yeah, all right. Older photographers seek to avoid this knowledge, while modern photographers hope for this knowledge. Neither then believe that knowing something requires photographing it. Last question. Why should one know something well before you capture it in a picture? Paragraph 5. To know something is to be able to capture it in a way that maximizes its beauty. Good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble what they imagine. One can know few things well enough to photograph them seriously. Seeing is the form of knowing that is most important to photographers. Okay, so paragraph 5, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the last paragraph, but modern photographers disagree even when ambitious professionals disparage thinking. Suspicion of the intellect being a recurrent theme in the photographic apologetics, they usually want to assert how rigorous this permissive visualizing needs to be. A photograph is not an accident, it is a concept. Okay, so I would say one can know this more closely resembles one can know few things well enough to photograph them seriously. Okay, so the machine gun approach to photography, by which many negatives are made with the hope that one will be good, is fatal to serious result. To take a good photograph runs the common claim one must already see it. One must also see it. Seeing is the form of knowledge that is most important to photographers. No, they've already have it in their mind, so that's not seeing. That's actually in the mind's eye. So that's not really seeing, right? Visual perception separate from mental image. One must know a thing well, that is, before you capture it in a picture. So they already have a mental image. So good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble what they imagine. I don't think they're looking for moments as they imagine it. They sort of look at probably a scene and sort of already have a mind of already have like a mental image that they want to capture from that. They're using they're using the visual, what they see visually as um, as their reference, you could say. So I would say A and B. A, definitely not. Good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble that they imagine. Interesting. One can know, well, it's not good photographers, it's modern. To take a good photograph, runs a common claim that one must already see it. Here, the C is the mental image they're referring to. Good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble. One can know few things well enough to photograph them seriously. I don't know what that means, though. Seeing is the form of knowing that is most important to photographers. No. I guess they're making the moment, right? Good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble what they imagine. So when it says even when ambitious professionals disparage thinking, suspicion of the intellect being a recurrent thing in photographic apologetics, they usually want to assert how rigorous is permissive. So it's a concept that they have. So it's close to imagination. Good photographers try to photograph moments that resemble what they imagine. Okay, well, not sure, but let's see. Oh, it is correct. So B is correct. This is correct because paragraph 5 states that taking a good photograph means already having the image of what one is going to capture in one's head. B most closely resembles that. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for all the questions, and we will see each other next time, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and there's also a study session at 9 a.m. today on my channel. So catch that if you can. It's for 6 hours. It's Pomodoro, 50 minutes of study session and 10 minutes of breaks. All right, thank you very much, and see you then. Bye.